Good evening.
Anywhere I go on this island, it seems to me I find degeneracy.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. See, it's a lot scarier when there's no motive, Sid.
We have a bargain.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
Do you feel the pain? Always fear. Pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
His entire work consists of violence, all the time. Obsessed with the issue of violence. Mayhem, gouging out of eyes, autopsies on the stage.
Come. It is time to keep your appointment.
Good evening and a happy Thanksgiving to all the American viewers. We may have a quiet one tonight, I imagine. In fact, I almost hope a lot of you are making sure it's not just you who's sufficiently based. All right, yeah, you all know the joke. You all know the joke. I had to make it, though. Good evening, everyone. Good to see regulars in chat. Theremin Trees, hello. Dr. Prepper, Leslie Russell of the Good Horror Facts, if I remember, the old Hammer Horror Facts. If I remember you correctly, you had quite a good knowledge on those back when we were doing those streams. Good to see you, Mima and John Goris. And Mima, sorry to hear that news from you. I hope you're okay. Sad times. So we do not have a TCG tonight. I'm afraid he's offered a Diddy party. He's doing some late work. Late work, he told us, that we're not meant to talk about. So sadly, he cannot give his opinion on the hunger. I can only assume that TCG would have... I think he'd have liked this. Don't you think?
Oh, the movie is lovely. It's just too bad the studio just killed the ending, but that's just me.
Yeah, I like to think he'd have gone for it, but and I'm with you. We had a little chat backstage. I think we're basically on the same wavelength with this movie. We'll pick out a few things. There were some nice observations. It is a pleasant surprise. But if you're wondering what the heck are we doing this for? The Hunger, 1983. Why are we covering that? It is the fourth part of our Horror and the Erotic arc. Long delayed, long avoided, but unfortunately, you channel members voted for it, where I did my best. I really did, folks. Obscure Wes Craven never wins. Meta Horror never ever wins. And it looked like it was going to be an undefeated winning streak for H.P. Lovecraft. We were going to do a third part of H.P. Lovecraft horror. But one of you guys decided you did not want to hear about Eldritch Abominations. You wanted booty. And so we are here on Horror and the Erotic. We did Cat People. Let's do a little recap. We did Cat People, looking at sort of sexual neuroses as a type of horror. That's from 1942. For you Brits or anyone with an access to BBC iPlayer, oddly enough, Cat People and The Curse of the Cat People are both on there. Bit of a winner. So is excellent Vincent Price movie Laura. Highly recommended. So if you fancy browsing the depths of BBC iPlayer, you can find those right now. We then looked at Shivers, which approaches sort of the extremities of horror from sort of the erotic from, frankly, a very reactionary angle that really surprised me. And that was sort of, maybe you can say that's our stand-in for Sarlo, because I'm too scared to go near that movie. One day, folks, one day. Maybe we'll do an Italian excess arc, and Sarlo and Cannibal H word we probably shouldn't say this early in the stream. We'll cover that. So that was like excesses of the erotic turning horrific, as well as like a predatory sexuality. So that was quite surprising. Then last week we looked at not Shivers, Species, which was, I mean, Murgoot, would you say it's fair to say that was just like horny with a little bit of spoopy on the side?
Yeah. Classic A-budget B-movie sexploitation.
In other words, your horror and the erotic are both there, but they're not really interacting. You can enjoy your erotic scenes entirely untainted by the horror. No taint in there whatsoever. Although I think there's one angle that anyway. But now enough Dutton posting. But we now move on to The Hunger, which is that kind of angle I'd hoped we would get to. It's maybe not the strongest approach of it for the sort of vampirism, sexuality, as a sort of metaphor, kind of a standard treatment, really. We've seen that many a time, that vampirism and sexuality are intrinsically linked. You will remember, of course, Dracula 1958, I think 58, from Hammer that we covered, where the sexuality was absolutely foregrounded. But this does that from a completely different angle, and it moves that sort of sexual hunger that again, it's kind of a sexual neurosis in there, and it mines that for horror, and it takes it in a really interesting direction. It totally surprised me. So this is going to be a delight to talk about. But before we get there, Murgoot, there's YouTube. We're going to do some shilling. This is what the people want, right? People like shilling.
You can find me on X at Murgoot, and I'm posting lots of ridiculous things lately. Lots of insult wars going on, and found some like-minded people and getting into memes and that kind of thing. Trying not to do naughty bits or anything like that, because, well,
we're both very well behaved, always, forever. Okay. Yes. Murgoot's Twitter handle is in the chat, as is mine, as well as a link to TCG's That Crime Guy. Follow him. You know, he's a busy boy. He's putting something out soon, so let's all be there. Let's be ready for it. As for myself, well, standard chilling, you can support the channel via super chats or tips on here and Subscribestar. But my favorite way would be if you fancied joining the channel as a member. I think for literally $2, you can do that. Join as a member, and then you get access to all the exclusives that I've done. There are 2 exclusives from the Halloween specials that just finished this year. Highly recommended. One on Oddity, one on Amityville 2: The Possession, where I think I drew some really good subtextual horror out of there. Great guests on those. And I think I might also release you a little bonus soon. I filmed like an extra chapter to my Scream 6 magnum opus, and then I can't remember why, I just didn't release it, and now it feels so old and out of date that I think I'll just have it as a bonus. But there was an additional horrific flaw of Scream 6, and I recorded and edited the video for that, so I might put that up for members soon. So sign up, you can enjoy that thing. Anyway, that is all the shilling. You folks are absolutely fantastic at supporting this channel. I really appreciate it. Means that when I go out and get obscure books on sexuality and horror, like Monsters from the Id imported from America, I don't have to worry about it too much. So again, really appreciate it all. Now, before we get into the film itself, we are going to be... Oh, Leslie Russell with an amazing detail. Yes, Heaven is a shall we say, a club for people with special interests. And it was recently in the news. Some not so fun incidents happened there. Yes. Yes, people would head there from a club called GAY. I hear from friends. I wouldn't know about that stuff. Okay. Before we're getting into Tony Scott's The Hunger, we have a little short topic section. We are continuing a long-running topic. We're just dipping back into it, looking at horror shorts. We're only going to look at 2 tonight. I don't want to do too many without TCG here. So we'll look at that now. Hopefully this works smoothly. We see that okay? Good. Sorry, folks. It's the only way I can do this. And I am too stingy to pay for Pixlr. So here we go. One of the ones we were meant to talk about a few weeks ago was the rather excellent The Doll Maker. Now, I mentioned this a few times, folks. If you don't want it spoiled, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, we're going to go into it. Hopefully, don't be spoiled. It's a great short. Maybe duck out. Tell you what, I will put on a spoilers warning right now. There you go. I'll take this off when we finish talking about The Doll Maker. How about that? In case anyone is concerned. But basically, I highly, highly rate The Doll Maker. There we go. Murgoot, would you like to roughly tell people what happens in this 9-minute short from 2017?
Oh boy, it's been about a week since I've watched it.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right, groovy. I've watched this so many times. I absolutely love it. I think it's like an art piece. So we open on this kind of sleazy showman, a guy who really you do not trust, in the couple's basement. And the couple have lost their son, and they've commissioned a doll that is meant to be completely lifelike. And they get this creepy looking thing, but they are told the rules of how he works. And you feel a little bit of that Gremlins energy. You know, the rules are spelled out. Don't feed after midnight. Love that stuff. The mother is into it. The father is extremely cynical. But once the mother holds the doll, she's won over. Like instantly she touches it, she is seeing her child back. It is pretty haunting already. Mm-hmm. Like dark subject matter, done really well. And the father is creeped out by this. And we basically see the rules going out about don't overuse it. It's dangerous if you overuse it. They've got to stay in the house. And it causes this massive rift because we see the mother get absolutely addicted. She can't put the kid away. She breaks the rules. She can't limit herself. She can't sort of let it recharge, She can't stop touching the doll to let it sort of recharge. So she just sees it as a kid all the time. This causes a huge argument, and eventually the husband decides, no, she's hooked. I've got to break her of this. And he pulls her out the house so that she'll see the doll as it is again and have the spell be broken. But then he sees that his wife is a doll. And I know this is maybe sounding a bit Futurama, scary doll, dun dun dun. But it is amazingly done, and you see in flashbacks that, she couldn't cope with him trying to cut her off from the doll the first time, and self-deleted. Unfortunately, on YouTube, that is horribly blurred and censored, sort of robbing the film of some of its power. But then he has her made into a doll. And yes, it ends with a rather grim note about that. I don't think we can really discuss it without sort of giving those amazing details away. So hopefully people aren't too worried. I don't imagine anyone is worried. Murgoot, I've talked for ages. How do you find The Doll Maker?
It was well made. Things were explained very well. Creeped me out the first time I watched it. Dolls have always kind of creeped me out. But the second time I watched it, it didn't hit me nearly as hard. It didn't hold up nearly as well the second time through. But it was well executed, well filmed. I give it a strong A or a low S. Before I was giving it a high S.
Interesting. Can I ask what didn't hold up for you as much the second time around, if you remember?
Just the impact of realizing that he turned his wife into a doll.
Mm. Yeah, I suppose it can't shock as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does hit very hard the first time. On rewatching, I was really appreciating the construction. Just, the setups and payoffs. You get the rules. They've got to have something important to them, and it seemed like an app for the doll to work, and it seemed absolutely brutal that he makes the doll his wife's important thing. Oof, that was harsh. Yeah, good setup and payoff and use of recurring lines, and all told in an extremely brisk 9 minutes.
Oh, very much so. It's just the first time watching it it had the nice twist, and I was very surprised by it and creeped out by it. The second time, it's like you said, it's very well made. They set things up very well. Things are going to go very, very wrong. They do foreshadowing well, but the impact just wasn't there.
Fair play. I must confess that I think I get more annoyed by the censoring of the self-deletion scene each time I watch. But very sadly, the director of this seems to have disappeared. He made this in 2017, and he's gone. All the websites linked in the video gone. IMDb hasn't done anything since. I didn't look beyond that, but I sort of hoped that this chat would have done a fair bit more, because I thought this was great, but not so much. Not so much. It seems to have exited the scene around 2017. Anyway, you were pitching this at about a
High A,
low S.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use a different image just to fit it in a little more. I mean, I feel I feel strongly it's an S, but so between your low S and my strong S, I think we can comfortably get it up there. Also, I feel we may have rated it already, but I couldn't remember because I had it in here, but it wasn't placed in the chart. Alas. All right. And then we had a late entry from TCG. Before we go on to that, Adam Loves Horror has kicked things off, sending $5. Thank you so much, Adam Loves Horror. Happy Thanksgiving, US family time. So I've got to go. And oh yes, like and subscribe, everyone. That's something I always forget to say. Yes, please follow Adam's advice. Like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Much appreciated. Thanks for exposing me to new things to watch. That is my absolute pleasure. You will notice, Adam, we don't tend to do the new stuff on here. I think there's so much back catalogue and overlooked stuff. That's where I like to focus my time. Not that I don't delve into the modern stuff occasionally, but yeah, I really love introducing people to film said have never caught it otherwise. So absolute delight. I'm chuffed. And thank you again for $5. And if you're doing Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. All right.
Okay, I
Lovely
have
stuff.
a couple comments. John Morris, Interview with the Vampire. Anne Rice wrote that in 1976. And Whitley Strieber wrote The Hunger in 1981. And the influences were there, but Leslie Russell has it right. The Hunger takes a lot from Carmilla.
Oh, yes. Which also inspired the Vampire Lovers. You must remember. John Gores might mean he might just mean the film adaptations, as in like The Hunger proved you could do it. There was an audience, and then they said, "Okay, we'll throw some money at Neil Jordan's adaptation."
Yeah.
Very guilty pleasure. I saw there is an Amazon series of Interview with the Vampire.
And John Gores, David Bowie is dead because he deserves to be in heaven. Keith Richards is still on tour, but you have to realize he embalmed and mummified himself in 1977.
Yes. I'm just noticing people are finding out quite a few vampire movies that have touched this sort of this strand of the interaction of horror and the erotic, where it's the desire, the danger of seduction. So we got let the right one in reference as well. That also gets that sort of pathological nature of the attraction there. But the novel, I thought, went a lot further in how bad that could go. They definitely could not film what was in the novel, alas.
Let the Right One In as a novel, or
yeah, it was originally a Swedish novel.
I knew it
pretty
was a Swedish film first, but
yeah, it's quite close. But basically, the companion of the vampire is a much bigger player and has a much darker history. He's sort of semi-vampiric. Not full vampire, so he's kind of undead, and he has some extremely gory adventures. But before we go on to The Hunger, let's just quickly look at our final short for tonight. This came from that crime guy who found it, and it was an absolutely great recommendation. This was Deadline.
Deadline.
Yeah, from 2 years ago.
Neville is a call center worker at, I forget what it's called, but
Survivor Services.
Survival services for the undead apocalypse, basically. And he's told to read off a script. He goes off script. He's got a woman who calls, and he goes totally off script trying to help her. And then in the middle of everything, zombies break into the call center, and he comes back to the phone, and he's got a bandage around his hand, and he's still trying to help the woman. And havoc ensues. He saves the girl, but he's still answering the call at the end as a zombie. Sorry for full spoilers. I should have said that in the beginning.
You know what's going to happen. I mean, he gets the bite. So
yeah,
that happens about 2 minutes in.
Answering the phone as a zombie. After working in a call center, you feel like a zombie after a while. It's classic.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly subtle about what it's doing. You know, the method. He's given dialogue from someone early on, just basically telling him, take initiative, think for yourself, basically don't be a zombie. And like that's his whole storyline. So yes, the symbolism is not exactly subtle. You are in this job where it's all protocol. You're basically brain dead. You might as well be a zombie. And the challenge is for him to break out of that. So yeah, Good
The
symbolism.
thumbnail on YouTube gave the whole thing away. At least the one that I saw.
Mm.
Because he looked like a zombie on the thing, and I was like, okay. Once it started, it's like, yeah, the thumbnail gave it away, but it's still very well done, and it's just a set piece. Him basically alone in a room, and it's voices on the phone, and it's well done. Wouldn't
Yeah,
say
you realize at a point. Wait, there are no special effects in this, or basically none. This is literally just a guy in an office set. This might be this guy's office. He
yeah.
could be filming at night, and I was like, "Oh, this is great." You realize he's made this really compelling story in the most boring set possible. Genius.
I did like the bite on the hand. It was kind of goofy, but it worked. And then the eventual veins and the grayed out contacts were about the only makeup, aside from the paling of his skin. But it was well done. It was fun, but it was entirely predictable.
Yeah, I mean, it does well to make the main thing about, can he save someone else? Can he get a survivor? By breaking all the rules, can he actually save someone else? And in that way, it is basically a radio play, really, because all the action is just being conveyed to you in audio form. You just see him react to it. So.
Well, the only action, there is a bit of action, but it's all in silhouette.
Oh, true.
That's about it.
Yeah, right at the start, I suppose. Yeah. So decent message, decent symbolism, not exactly delivered subtly, but lots of creativity and believability. I mean, I love this. Just the idea that a zombie apocalypse would be handled like any other problem in Britain. Just the services wouldn't work. Like, it would be useless. Petty bureaucracy stalling everything. Fantastic.
After watching it the first time, watching it the second time, I half expected the Castlegate "Keep Calm and Carry On" poster behind him, but that would have been too on the nose.
Maybe. So, where would you? And by the way, this guy's got a couple. This is by Harry Page. He's got a couple of other films on his channel. I will check those out. I was very impressed by this. Not a huge number of subscribers, very surprisingly. Yeah. I don't know why this guy should have a couple of 100K on his channel, but no, very low numbers. So interesting guy. Where would you score this, Murgoot? Where's Deadline going?
Torn between a high B and a low A. And the more I think about it, it is very well done. The voice acting is good. I'll give it a nice solid A.
We can do that. Oh, man. Are we too kind? Murgoot, we got... Or are there just a load of good shorts? I don't know, man.
Well,
we're filling up the A.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to find some crap ones. I'm going to get some... I'll get us some terrible ones next time we do this. I'll balance it out. All right. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that. Now... oh, good, there he is. Patrick Batman. Now, I know you left some recommendations, a new list of... you left a new list of horror shorts recommendations, but I believe YouTube ate your comment, as it is unfortunately fond of doing. So, Patrick, I'm going to mod you now, and hopefully... this will mean your comment can stay. let's give it a go. You know, I want to see what that list is. I'm desperate. Actually, we found a few, but you know, you had some very good recommendations, and it's basically a topic you kicked off. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see what the updated list is. Okay. Oh gosh, I didn't take the thing off.
Patrick, if
There we
you're
go.
on X, you can always DM me. My DMs are open.
Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. That'll do it. Another option. But anyway, enjoy the mod. So, without further ado, only 30 minutes into the stream. If you are the wonderful person who leaves a comment with the chapters, telling people when we actually start talking about the film, just know that we are saluting you. We appreciate you. So there we go. Starting at 31 minutes in, let's discuss The Hunger from 1983. Murgoot.
Okay.
You'd seen this before?
Oh, yeah. I saw it in the 80s as a teenager, and yes, I would have rated a heck of a lot higher as a teenager.
Would you indeed?
Yeah, for the obvious reasons, but it opens with Peter Murphy of Bauhaus singing Bela Lugosi is dead, and it flashes around. The Blaylocks are at a club looking for prey. They take the prey home. It sets up the fact that they are vampires. Basically, they've got it set up. Very, very cushy, comfortable life in New York. She teaches music lessons to a young girl. And the premise is in a flashback that, do you want eternal life? And Mr. Blaylock, David Bowie's character, says yes. And this is revolutionary France. And basically, it turns out eternal life does not mean eternal youth, because David Bowie hits his 200-year mark and he starts aging rapidly. And you're introduced to what's her character's name? Susan Sarandon. She's a doctor of gerontology, and she's trying to find a cure for progeria.
Sarah Roberts.
Thank you. And Mrs. Blaylock finds her, and then Mr. Blaylock, after his hair starts falling out. Basically, it sets up that he wants to find a cure for aging. Sarah blows him off. He goes back. He kills Mrs. Blaylock's musical protege, and Mrs. Blaylock gets involved with Sarah, and whole thing about eternity versus aging versus all that, and random seduction, or not so random, but it felt kind of out of place initially, but it worked in well. And of course, that was teenage me was all over that. But
I mean, I'm gonna say those scenes were, I think, the worst bit of the movie.
It depends on where you're coming from.
Well, we will get into it. I mean, you've got, maybe let's save the ending for the very end, since that is its own topic.
Oh yes.
Oh man. Okay. Well, and as a subject for, thank you for summarizing it there. The Enriab has put his own summary in. Oh, that's harsh. That's harsh. If anyone doesn't know, okay, Aldi is a low-budget supermarket in the UK. Really, I mean, you could have called him like Ridley Scott's little brother or Lidley Scott. I don't know. Never mind. No.
For those
Maybe your joke is better.
For those Americans still in the chat, Aldi's referred to as Save-A-Lot here in the States, unless you're in a state where Aldi keeps its brand name.
Mm. He's saying he directs a perfume advert with vampires, well lit with fans blowing sheets a lot. And Bowie is in it, yes, but Bowie's not in it as much as we might expect or hope for. But we enjoy him when he is there. I did feel a tiny bit robbed of Bowie and a bit bereft when he left the movie, I'll be honest with you. A little bit. Hello, John Graham dropping in. Good to see you. Good to see you. So, as has been hinted at, yes, this is Tony Scott, Ridley Scott's brother, in a debut. What do we always say? Where do people start? They start in porn or in horror. Easiest way for you to get into the film industry, porn or horror. Many such cases.
He did a double feature. Yeah.
He kind of did. He kind of did on this one. The erotic element is very much on display. You can see like this would be stuff that would draw people in. I also saw absolutely characteristic Tony Scott editing.
Very, very, very jumpy.
Jumpy, frenetic, mismatching. I mean, this is kind of laid back for him.
Well, one nice thing is he allows you to piece the clues together. And it's pretty obvious what the clues are. You're not left with a jumbled mess of mystery. This one, it's pretty clear what's going on. I do have to say I love the 80s atmosphere, the cinematography. All the different pieces are beautifully done. Even the doctor's offices in the research room are well done and well shot.
They look kind of classic. Yeah, I haven't got many screen caps from it because I found that subplot rather boring. But yeah. But this opening bit really hooked me. I thought he was saying some really interesting stuff here. I said, we had a little bit of it in Shivers, but this one has a big old dollop of gay on it throughout, and it starts in quite a subtle way. I thought that was interesting. So I've got this opening scene from when the couple have been picked up at the club. And there was something quite cool about how basically the setup with the male-female players was sort of mirrored. It's sort of hard to show it on YouTube, but rewatch this early scene and watch how basically in one scene you've got David Bowie in the sort of assertive role, and then you switch to a female, and it's like it's making them kind of interchangeable. It's quite a lot of sort of bisexual signaling in this film, that these people can just take places, and that gives you a bit of foreshadowing of later on. You find out that Catherine Deneuve's Madame Blaylock is basically that way. She's already taken a few female partners. So she just views them as interchangeable as well. I thought that was quite nicely done, that those dynamics are unstable, just as the sort of predator-prey dynamic is unstable as well. It sort of surprises you the direction it goes in.
Well, it shows, how to put this, the hunger is equivalent for men and women. It comes for all.
Yes.
And for blood, for sex, for the hunger for eternal life, eternal youth.
Mm,
Everybody is affected by it.
yes. Yeah. But it also, how can I say? Right from the start, there's also the clues, the visual clues, that what is on offer is not what you're going to get. Again, this is the kind of thing that I get. Some people say I'm reaching on, but they're sat down at the house, are about to get a little funky, and this woman starts dancing in front of the wall with a big light projecting on her, just sort of indicating like this is a show. This is all just a show. It's fake. It's all performative, which ultimately, in their case, it is. They are not there for sexy fun times. They are there to be a snack. But in this film, that sort of it's a body count in the literal and a figurative sense, basically. I've talked for ages. I've talked sleazily for ages, Murgoot. What do you think of that?
Well, they play with their food. It sets it up rather quickly. One thing I did notice is all the attractive women who were, aside from Alice, who was a child, all the women prey were androgynous, and so were the men.
Yeah. Again, that's the interchangeability in there, except for except for Blaylock. Yeah, there is that sort of, like I said, there is that sort of big dollop of bisexual aesthetics on there. I think, did I say in the DMs that I was pretty sure that they made Susan Sarandon look like David Bowie in this?
No.
Did I not?
Not that I saw.
All right, hang on. Let's see if I can get a good one. Okay, good one of her. There's your Susan Sarandon. Look at that haircut in particular. Look at the suit. Strong, defined suit. And have I got a... we'll have to use this for Bowie because it comes up in that scene anyway. But similarly, similar haircut. Similar haircut. I mean, do you think, am I reaching here?
Nope. The butch androgynous haircut, thin, lithe, both Bowie and his prey in Susan Sarandon. The only one who is strongly one sexuality, the only one who is strongly female is Mrs. Blaylock. And everybody else is androgynous, prey, and you could say Alice is even androgynous because I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl at first.
Yeah, John Graham put that, and I was having the same concern. Like, hang on, which way is that going?
Yeah,
it took a while.
It's just one of those. Mrs. Blaylock is hungering for companionship through the ages, while everybody else is hungering for sex or eternal life, and that.
They all have that need, but it does not work for them. It does not leave them fulfilled. It's a really quite interesting message. It's a challenging message. It's effectively saying, don't be, how can I say? Well, it's anti-hedonism, which seems to me like quite a counter mainstream message in the 80s. Like a decade of excess. This is one talking about like, no, your hunger will never be sated. You will never get it.
Well, a lot of the 80s movies did counter signal the going zeitgeist of the 80s. I mean, look at Wall Street. Greed is good, and they're absolute villains. You end up cheering. They were rather disappointed that everybody was cheering for Gordon Gekko, but
Wait, he was a villain? What? I know what you mean, Maggie. Nah.
Villain protagonists trying to counter signal and failing miserably.
I wonder if the androgyny is a little bit of an effect of almost, how can I say, almost being a representation of how to Blaylock they're interchangeable. Like basically anyone could be her partner. I mean, she's not picky from what we see. Like David Bowie's, I should say his character name, but it's David Bowie. John, and it's very telling that he's called John. You know, a John, a a prostitute's client, and he dies, and like she picks up Susan Sarandon's Sarah, like. Is it literally that afternoon? That she's not messing around. The second he's out of the picture, she has to pick up Susan Sarandon, which I thought was very telling. It's this. It just completely surprised me, the approach that this film took. It was so much more mature. I really loved that. Like just this angle of, okay, the woman's got everything. David Bowie is absolutely craving that eternal life, eternal youth, and it's okay. He doesn't get that, but she has that, and she's hugely needy.
Oh yeah, she's got 3,000 years of need, companionship to keep herself sane. I mean, she was Egyptian royalty, basically, and 3,000 years of it. And yeah, it's her need is companionship, his need is youth and dependency on Mrs. Blaylock.
Yeah, sorry, just comment from Leslie Russell. Miriam Blaylock is the same name of Baylock, the governess of Damien and the Omen. I'm not, oh gosh, I can't remember if it's Miriam. I know they were saying Mrs. Baylock. Maybe it is Miriam. I believe you. I mean, The Omen's one of my favorites of all time. In the fun fact, I never get to say this, but in the novelization, she has a lesbian accomplice. So she's Baylock and her accomplice is Baylin. There we go. I never got to say these little facts. Anyway, yeah, it could be Miriam, but I'd have to check that, but I'll trust you on that. Sorry, Murgoot, I got derailed by that comment. I saw The Omen and my brain went woof.
No problem.
So I guess I was gonna I think you're talking about John and the decision that he would I guess his vulnerability when suddenly he realizes he's so dependent on her, it's not working, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever get any explanation for why it is only her who's eternal.
No, not that I saw. I kind of looked for it the second time through, but it was with all the jump edits. I was kind of like, don't know.
In a way, I like that they never explain it. It helps a heck of a lot of stuff if they don't, because it can just stand in for so much more. It's that really interesting dynamic of she knows what she's doing. She knows they only last. She knows they only last about 200 years or so. Because I was trying to work out from the costume when he starts. I think it is probably 200 years.
Yeah, it's revolutionary France.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. So she's the only one going on. They don't know. And just that dynamic is fascinating. She knows what she's doing and she does it again anyway, over and over again. And just realizing actually she has just as much of a problem. She has a real addiction. Like, he's only got one level of it. I mean, his fate isn't exactly great here. I realize I've been stuck on that image for quite a while. I will move us. Oh, actually, yeah, here's them in revolutionary France. I'm just going to get us to this bit from when he started aging. Or maybe a little bit before that.
Yeah.
This scene had some amazing emotional depth and pathos when he just realizes he's aging rapidly and the things that he would normally try and do aren't working. You notice there was a little bit of the old homosex slipped in there. I don't know if you noticed, Murgoot. A little bit of.
Yeah, he did. As he got desperate, more and more desperate after coming out of the doctor's office, he thought about taking this guy, and then he's staggering home, and the roller disco guy, he slashes him and then ends up having to run off because he didn't kill him immediately.
Yeah, I mean,
he got even more desperate and took out Alice.
Yeah, I mean, you see it coming. You see it coming a way off. Yeah, at this point, the sort of the hunger as a sort of sexual need was really blooming obvious. I mean, if you're only listening to it, basically we've got him in a bathroom next to a topless chap who is the pose is somewhat, shall we say, inviting. I think it'll be fair to say it's not an accident that he's with this guy in a bathroom.
Well, before this, the scene in the elevator where it's a crowded elevator and he hears the pulses and he stares at the nurse's breasts, and then his attention's caught by the blood pulsing in her neck. And that's when he realizes he has to get out of the elevator and then runs to the bathroom.
And yeah, that was done rather nicely, I thought. We've seen that scene before, but I liked it. Yeah, his desperation moves up, and then yes, he is ultimately he has a target in Alice.
Yeah.
Now, is that kind of hinting about how if you're following your desires, you'll be led into more extreme realms? Maybe is that in there? Is that what they're hinting?
Or it's desperation. It's sheer desperation. More youthful blood will get him more time, and it doesn't because he keeps aging.
It is
and he goes from kiss me to kill me. Literally. Kill me. I can't. You can't die. It's kill me. Kill me. And then she puts him in the casket where all of her former companions are stored too, which I thought was rather gruesome.
There's a few things we can go on this. We should swiftly mention. I don't think there's much in this, but it's worth saying. Dick Smith's makeup on this was amazing. I did note that he was credited with the makeup illusions. That's an interesting credit. But Dick Smith, if you're not aware, you will know his work best from The Exorcist. Now, why would he be hired for this? Oh, probably because one of the main effects he did on The Exorcist was to significantly age up Max von Sydow, who at the time was actually just under 30, but they needed him to look well into his 60s as Father Merrick. So
Yeah.
when you need someone to do advanced age makeup, you can see why they went to Dick Smith for that. And I think it holds up rather well.
Yeah, he did the same in Little Big Man. Who's the star of Little Big Man now? I want to say.
Oh, John Goris got in there as well. You guys were almost simultaneous.
Let me look it up real quick because it's going to bother me that I don't remember.
Go for it. I sympathize. That stuff sticks in your head. If you don't look it up, it drives you absolutely mad.
Dustin Hoffman. Dear God, how did I forget that?
Oh, John Goris has got you again.
But
And the entry have mogged by Hoffman.
yeah.
Well, he was just in the nick of time there.
Yeah. Yeah, but he did that very effectively too, and he's done quite a bit of other stuff too. But yeah, the aging for 80s makeup is incredible.
Absolutely. They also know to keep it in the shadows for a lot of it. In some shots, it's unavoidable that this is like very built-on makeup. I think I'll give you the next shot. I think you sort of get a sense of scale that it's just making his head much too big. Because it's all you can do is build on, really. What can you do? But
this is a mannequin, which is really, really well made.
Yeah. It's a good there's no way she'd be able to carry him, I don't think. But it does make the head look a tad too big, which can be a bit of a giveaway. But I wanted to just say the way that Catherine Deneuve plays this is wonderful. I think a weaker film would have had her callous or numb to it. Because she has gone through this whole process of turning a lover, promising them eternity, and then they lose it at the last minute.
I saw at least 7 other caskets, so...
Oh, at least. Maybe implying that she left... I mean, she doesn't appear to have left others behind, but maybe they get a little more than 200 years. Maybe she went a while without a partner. That would explain some of the gaps if she started in ancient Egypt. I don't know. Maybe some of them never managed to get out the coffins in the somewhat ridiculous finale. But I just wanted to really praise the decision to not make her blasé.
She's very, very emotional. She's losing her lover to the caskets of time. It's just... If I hadn't already kind of fallen out from it, it would have been heart-wrenching. But just some of the choices of the editing kind of... But it's Tony Scott. What do you expect?
It is jarring. It's deliberately jarring. But a good choice, a mature choice. Totally not what I was expecting. And I was really impressed with it, really. It made Catherine Deneuve's character really work for me. It was very different.
Very different from most vampire flicks out there. It's just... But, yeah. I have to be right back.
No worries, no worries. While you are away, I must point out that John Goris bringing a very unexpected one there. So a freaky film called Phantom of Death with Michael York and Donald Pleasence. Yeah. Yep. I've never heard of that. Is that a good recommendation? Let us know. I'll just take a moment to say, folks, obviously, we are covering Horror and the Erotic, and we're talking about vampires. So we had a hard time here. Obviously, because I wanted that sort of seduction angle. Like, there's a good source of horror in trying to fight the seduction, even though there's horrible consequences to it. And I wanted to try and get that angle, which is why I went for this. We have a few options for this. I think I mentioned last week, Knock Knock is an excellent example. Poison Ivy, kind of like that, but maybe not sufficiently horrific, more of a thriller. There's a little bit of that angle in Splice from Vincenzo Natali, who directed Cube, which we like around here. That is a very interesting movie, and it has a little bit of a link in with this, because some of the animal stuff that's in this also links into Splice. You wonder if he'd watched it. I'm not saying a rip-off, but you wonder if he'd watched it, and that sort of made its way into the subconscious. But if we were just doing vampire movies with a little bit of the sexy to them, obviously Hammer's Dracula, The Vampire Lovers, the criminally underrated Twins of Evil, the best in their Karnstein trilogy from 1971 and 1972, even though that's an opinion that I seem to be fairly alone in holding, would be an option. But there's one in particular that I feel like I obviously have to mention here for some kind of completion, which is Fright Night. Now, that is hugely about the erotic, also with a massive dollop of gay all over it. But I'm not covering that here because I've made quite a few videos about it, and we've covered it on the channel, and I've even done an audio commentary for it, which you can find in the back catalogue as part of the Blockbuster project. And it's sort of... I don't like to double dip too much, basically, but I would feel weird not mentioning Fright Night in the context of horror and the erotic and vampires. So it needed to be mentioned. Welcome back, Murgoot.
Thank you. I do have to say, I love the cinematography of this huge house in New York. Almost chiaroscuro. Just the plays of a little bit of light in the dark, and just plays on the tension.
You can thank Stephen Goldblatt for that, who's a Safi born, or South African. Oh, well, born in South Africa to a Jewish family. So the name Goldblatt will not surprise you. I was just looking at what he'd done. Obviously, this movie is a foreshadowing of the great cinematography that he would do in 1997's Batman and Robin. How the mighty are fallen, bloody hell. Also, Lethal Weapon. That's a bit of a delight.
Oh, yeah. Lethal Weapon is great.
Does that make sense? Hang on. We're getting... I meant to say this. Theremin Trees, the music pieces, yes, it is... one other thing that really stood out to me was the saraband that's used in Barry Lyndon, in Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon. When they started playing that was absolutely fantastic. And at this point, Barry Lyndon had come out. That was 1975. So I wonder if Tony Scott, in using the saraband from that, was almost trying to leech some of those feelings of like intense repression of emotion and repression of sorrow that are throughout Barry Lyndon. Great musical choice. Really, really great musical choice. And beautifully shot. I think it's sort of telling that we've both kind of dodged talking about Susan Sarandon here and her storyline. So should we dip into that? Because the movie kind of does the David Bowie thing, and then once he's tucked away in a very Bluebeard the Pirate sort of way, which obviously they are referring to. Obviously. Great metaphor. But yeah, after this happens, I did find myself at a bit of a loss in the movie. A sort of, oh, where are we going? Like, I was really surprised watching it. This did not go where I expected, but when David Bowie is out about halfway through the movie, I was sort of, a lot of my, I don't want to say interest, but let's say focus went.
Yeah. Susan Sarandon was meant to bring that focus back, and it really didn't. But she's obsessed with anti-gerontics. Sorry. And she's seen him age before her eyes. She avoids him for 20 minutes, and he's aged 10 years. She hunts him down, and he's not there. And Mrs. Blaylock implants the obsession. It's, Mrs. Blaylock, are you flirting with me? Am I? Not in that way.
Well, before we even get to that, I was going to say, like, she's kind of cut into the story. I might have trouble with this one, guys. Very early on, during the pickup in the club scene, the sexual, the flirting, is intercut with footage of a very agitated monkey in the cage. This is not subtle. It's that primal desire trying to break out. Not subtle. It's fine. Also very contrasting red lighting. I've got an image to show from it. It's a bit graphic and it's involving animals, so I will advise you, if you don't want to see that, I'll have it up on screen for a few seconds. I might not get away with it, but we'll see how we do. Just to try and get you the idea of how harsh it is, what we see. This is intercut with the sort of seduction. Obviously foreshadowing and paralleling it, is that animal desire breaking out, and it's really brutal. We're also seeing an attack on the neck here, which is what we would associate with a vampire attack. And this sort of, we get out of context. Classic Tony Scott. You get context later. I'm going to take the image off screen now because I know that's quite unpleasant. There we go. It is off screen now. If you don't want to see that, I fully appreciate that. I don't like watching anything with animals myself. But it's quite a rough way into the Susan Sarandon story. And we later see that same monkey. This is just her at a book signing. This starts to build in the connection to Blaylock. I also sort of liked how many of the audience here are old, reading the anti-aging book.
Yeah.
Kind of a nice touch. Could have been built up a bit more, really. But the Blaylock being able to communicate with Dr. Roberts telepathically from the start was quite nice. Quite nice. And I've just seen a request. Mima asking for an audio commentary of Vampire Lovers. I don't know about that. So we did a stream on it, but I was not as fond of that one. We briefly talked about Twins of Evil. I wonder if I could convince AA to come on and do an audio commentary. I don't know. His passion for Hammer may have waned. But anyway, we will return to Hammer one day. We still got to do the weird, obscure Hammer horror arc. There was some quite affecting stuff in when we saw the monkey later, when it was dying, like after it attacked. I mean, obviously, this is just paralleling David Bowie's character's arc here.
Mhm.
Quick aggression, rapid age.
Yeah. No sleep, very aggressive, very hyperactive, and then rapid aging, equivalent of 85 years old, equivalent of 90 years old, and then it dies and rots on screen, time lapse. And they're all amazed by it.
It looked kind of cool, but I do have to ask, like, why did that happen? I mean, this monkey doesn't have anything on with it, right? Like, it doesn't have the vampirism going on it. Like, it's just a monkey with progeria, right?
Basically, they coaxed the progeria into him. But
that would not make him rot super quick.
No.
This film is stylish, but Murgoot, I think we said backstage, there's some kind of stupid stuff in this film. Like some of the stuff that they maybe don't expect you to think about, but yeah, progeria doesn't really work like that. Like you don't grow up normally and then suddenly rapidly age. That is not how progeria works. The rapid aging starts very early. Slight problem, and it doesn't accelerate rotting. That is a completely different biological process. But I will throw another thing in there, which is I found this bit really upsetting, like really difficult to watch, like this monkey kind of stumbling around old. I don't know if that's actually just a very old monkey that they have footage of.
I have no clue. And
Tough to
John
watch, though,
Doris,
right?
yes, The Innocent Blood with Frank Loggia, that is a fun film. And I love the garlic edition. Yes, that was very much a fun film. But
yeah, it's good recommendation. So yeah, John Goris and Jay Panks are approving. Well done. John Goris also a little more forgiving of the monkey. Okay, maybe this is oh, hang on. No, that's a one. Yeah, this is the is it a Dracula reference? Well, it could well be, but I need some defense in my movie. I need some in-movie logic. I'm not full Harry-in, but I do need a bit more logic than that. So they try to work up the connection to Susan Sarandon. They do have a decent reason for her to be there. Oh, YouTube's not going to like this. Maybe I should have got the Britisher out for this one. She's clothed. That's fine, right? We'll be fine with that.
The sherry.
Yes, the sherry. So Susan Sarandon goes over and is converted pretty bloomin' quick.
Yeah, seduced, converted, and her transformation is actually done fairly well. Jumpy as hell, but it's watching her convert from human to vampire was interesting. It held my attention. The shakes, the fever, and eventually attacking her husband when Mrs. Blaylock invites him in. It's, yes, she's here. She's sick. She's up on the second floor, and then Susan Sarandon ends up eating him. But
nicely done. I'm torn on this. I could have big problems with it, but I sort of if you view it that it's not so much a seduction as like a hypnotism, then I think it works a lot better.
Yeah, it's. I know you didn't. The erotic shots throughout the movie kind of threw you off, but it was well done, well photographed, and 15-year-old me would be jumping for joy, but it's
I guess I don't know, man. To me, how can I say? I didn't believe the passion. I know this is going to sound like this is coming from a completely different channel. Like this is going to sound very Guardian friendly, but yeah, the lesbian scenes to me were like directed very straight, and just like standard Hollywood understanding of those dynamics. As in, what if two heterosexual women just went boob crazy and went at it? And it's like, I don't know. I'll maybe leave my comments at not convincing.
Yeah, fair.
It's just like that. I contrast that to something. I was gonna say Mulholland Drive, but even that has got like a bit of a vibe of they're very clearly not into it. Or there's a much forgotten movie called Jennifer's Body where a lesbian scene is absolutely crammed in, and it's just not. It's just so contractual. You can just tell the actresses aren't into that.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to think of a good example of it.
There's the Uber one of not just not interested, but of pure disgust, which is Requiem. Yeah, Requiem for a Dream, unrated cut.
I've never made it through that movie, so I don't know that bit.
It's brutal. It's fetishists would be all over it, but for everybody else, it's like, oh dear God, they actually put this on film, and man, do they look sad and disgusted at the end.
Oh, they might as well just have a cup there.
Yeah, basically.
I'm trying to think of an example where it's actually been done well on screen, and my brain is absolutely. Blue is the warmest color. I thought that did that really well.
Well, that was made for lesbians by lesbians, so
that'd do it. There's got to be another example of like someone who's done it well. This is maybe taking us into the weeds a bit. Chat, comment me your favorite lesbian scenes. Fear Street wasn't bad. I thought that was somewhat convincing. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's taking us into the weeds a bit, but in short, oranges are not the only fruit. Oh gosh, I don't remember that. I don't remember if it was done well or not. I just can't remember. But in short, what John Garris got with the coolness and detachment to it, I think is what I'm getting as part of just sort of a problem.
I agree. J. Panzer Requiem for a Dream is a see it once movie, and that's it. John Garris, yeah, Caligula, the train wreck. I've seen both the X-rated and the R-rated, and yeah, that was Penthouse Pets, fake getting it on. Yeah, no.
Oh dear. So, are we preferring to see this as like even darker, basically, than a seduction? Just straight up kind of a coercion, yeah. Because we know that Blaylock can get in her head, so I think it's good, and that maybe not just so much coercion, but that she gives her well, coercion in the sense that she doesn't hypnotize her, but she gives her the hunger.
Mm-hmm.
She puts a desire for that eternal life in her. And once that happens, it takes over her brain, like very drug-like, I suppose. And I know obviously the sexual aspect is strong in this movie, but I often kind of thought of Blaylock as a bit of a drug dealer. You know, she's got her clients, but she doesn't partake so much. I know that doesn't work because she does drink the blood, but it's a way she manages to not be taken over it.
Yeah. She fosters, God, psychobabble, but she fosters codependency through obsession.
Mm. You can psychobabble on this channel. We love it here. We love a reach.
But she makes them heavily dependent, and she's codependent on them because she needs the companionship, and drags them through debauchery and nasty feedings, that kind of thing, throughout life. That was an interesting scene. You ordered it rare. You never order it rare.
Well, it was also just a wonderful transition as well. Blood dripping down and then the knife cutting down in the same movement. Excellent addict. I see. Oh, this is great. I'm feeling supported. Thank you, John Goris. Yes. Sarandon is very junk sick in bed waiting for a fix. Yes, see, the junkie angle is in there. Maybe my dealer reading isn't so... It's not that I'm saying she is a dealer. It stands in for that, but particularly... But there is something about the obsession and the need, but how one gets to stay aloof from it and not be affected, whereas everyone else has taken over. That's what made me think of Dealers. But yeah, amazing cut, beautiful, and as you say, yes, the bit where she's having it rare. So, could I pitch that this was one of the best scenes in the movie? The scene in the restaurant.
Where he's jealous, trying to figure out where she's been and what she's doing, and we had a conversation for 3.5 hours. A conversation. What did you talk about? Yeah, he's trying to figure out what's going on and break her out of the cycle and get her back on track.
He's slowly losing power. Like he's the tension of like, oh, I'm not annoyed, but like the way it's needling him as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then realizing that actually, no, he's got no power in this situation. Oh, John Graham asking, did anyone spot Willem Dafoe in the phone booth scene?
Yes.
Hell yeah, I did. Why is he talking to scientist Susan Sarandon? Is he something of a scientist himself? I don't know. Why is he there? Of course we saved him. Look at that cheeky chap. How can you not? But yeah, in the restaurant scene, yeah, I love this kind of battle of wills that they are both underplaying, but is clearly under the surface. Like there's just amazing tension there. I thought the shot of the swimming pool was great as well for indicating like how much was going on under the surface.
Yeah. That I didn't directly think that, but now that you mention it, yes, that is a good analogy.
Yeah, a great scene. Also, just the middle classery of like trying to keep up appearances, trying to be mannerful, and that just makes all the really strong emotions and tension underneath every word perfect. So I didn't like Susan Sarandon's storyline in this, but I can't fault her performance. I thought she did a really good job.
Oh yeah. It's an up and coming research doctor, and she held that well. Her fall into obsession, the argument with her boyfriend, she did fairly well until, well, the last couple scenes where everything kind of
Mm.
fell apart.
Yeah. I also loved her look when she'd first fed.
Mhm.
Do you think Deneuve's outfit there has a little bit of the maid to it?
Yeah. Now that you mention it,
Does that mean anything?
mm, cleaning after her lover's mess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it's a slightly saucy dress. I don't know. But yeah, I liked this shot. Obviously, we're not entirely in the realm of subtlety with this movie. We just did a scene where there was nice subtlety with the use of a swimming pool, suggesting things bubbling under the surface. Now we've just got a scene where she has sated her hunger, and to symbolize that, she's wandering out of the bedroom just in a shirt, in a scenario that many a freshman girl has done within days of attending college. That's what you pay for, isn't it? That's what you pay for, parents.
Of shame.
Absolutely. Jay Pankser, being a bit of a star after last week as well. Thank you so much, dropping $5 and saying it's Thanksgiving in the colonies. Maybe this will get you guys some cranberry sauce. Yes, you've got to have cranberry sauce.
Mhm.
Hot take: Platoon was an awful movie. 5p.
We don't have time for that fight.
You know what? Will I fight you? Will I fight you? I will say Platoon did my boy Stanley Kubrick dirty. He blamed a lot of the poor performance of Full Metal Jacket on Platoon getting out there first and sort of setting the public mood for Vietnam movies. But counterpoint, Stanley, shoot your film on time. Don't have 6 months delay throughout the shooting process. Maybe. Also,
Full Metal Jacket is far more watched nowadays than Platoon is, though. I'll give it that. Plus,
True.
it's far more memeable. Arlie Ermy is classic.
Platoon did have my boy Tony Todd, though, didn't it? I think it did. Tony Todd Platoon. Let's have a look. Yeah, he was.
Mhm.
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Platoon had a lot of people in it.
So, the reason I say that, Jay Pankser, is because Platoon had Tony Todd in it. It gets the Tony Todd modifier, the Toddifier, an automatic +1 to the score. This applies to everything. It applies to The Rock. Did you forget he was in The Rock? We love our Tony Todd. Excellent. Thank you very much for the $5. It's much appreciated. And I will reiterate my happy Thanksgiving to all American friends. Do Canadians have Thanksgiving?
Yeah, but theirs is in October.
Ooh-wee. Jay, thanks. Sorry, didn't mean to get off topic. As long you will realize this stream does not stay on topic very long. You don't even need to mention Christina Hendricks for us to veer off.
You're a feature, not a bug of this show.
Absolutely. So yes, slightly unsubtle. Basically, she is wandering out as if she had just been freshly raddled by at least one member of the football team. And it kind of leads us into the ending pretty quickly, because Susan Sarandon is able to resist the call. I don't know why she's able to resist the call. Is it why is she not taken? Why does she off herself almost immediately after the scene? What was your understanding for why she didn't want to go through with it and live the vampire life?
basically she was disgusted by the fact that the alien blood was taking her over. It's, I don't want the eternal life. I wanted to solve it. Self-hatred for killing her boyfriend. All kinds of factors. That, and it was forced on her.
Yeah. That going in there, the fate of Bowie in there as well. That could do it. Yeah. I think lots of reasons. I mean, maybe I'm glad she didn't spell it out actually, but we're given plenty to work with for why she doesn't want to go through it. Now, I suppose we have to talk about at what point the film changes. At what point did the producers drag young debut director Tony Scott in and say, we've got to change this ending? I think you said it cuts in at this point. This is when he had to change it.
Yeah, where she starts taking Susan Sarandon up to the caskets to put her away. It's, you're dead, but you can't die. And they wanted a sequel. So they basically, from what I understand, the original ending was that Catherine Deneuve was left alone and went on with it. Whereas they made sure that the previously casketed companions came out and attacked her. And this supposedly immortal and never aging and invulnerable vampire is thrown off the internal balcony and falls down how many levels of the house?
3. She's quite clear about telling people it's on the 3rd floor. Or maybe one level up, 4. Let's say 4
attic.
floors.
And quickly starts aging and dies. And then it flashes to Susan Sarandon and her lab techs in London and kissing them. And
deeply degenerate. It may interest you to know that the building she's in is in the Barbican Centre, which has got a certain irony to it. The Barbican was like the grand planning, the big scientific, rational housing development. It's very, I think it's fair to say, brutalist architecture. You can look it up. And the reputation on that place has soured quite a lot. It went through trouble. I mean, I've been inside a few of the flats in the Barbican. They're kind of standard, but it's more just like the environment is grey concrete everywhere. And we're in a film about how the sort of aging process, the longer life does not turn out how you would like. It's quite appropriate to shoot in the Barbican. Even if it didn't.
Gorgeous on the inside, hideously ugly on the outside.
Yeah. It's an odd place, I will say. Odd place to walk around. I'll get us a nice image from the ending of her being attacked by her old people. But before we go into that, the presumed original ending, I mean, that could have been one of the most brutal endings in horror. If Susan Sarandon has opened her throat to die and it still doesn't work, she's still eternal. She just has extra pain and just goes into the box, the casket all bloody. That is utterly grim. And if
Catherine Deneuve crying and then moving on with her life alone,
just having to live with it until inevitably she takes another lover and starts the process again, that would be such a bleak ending. But we didn't get it. How would you have felt if that was the ending we got, which presumably was the original ending?
I would have liked it a hell of a lot more. instead of the sequel hook. It's
Yeah. Alas, I'm with you. I would have preferred it. That's what we were all set up for. That would have been the tragedy of it. That's what we wanted. Alas, but we got this. Now, how can I say? It's very stylish. It's memorable. It's a massive visual payoff.
mhm.
You know, this is someone who watches everyone get old. That is her nightmare. She's got the eternal youth. Aging is the thing she's terrified for. So when she is surrounded by these avatars of aging, like that would be terrifying to her. It's also all the sort of past wrongs come to get her again. That's great.
Mhm.
Symbolically, visually, it's utterly wonderful. The only problem is it just makes absolutely no sense.
Mhm.
You don't have to be Harry and to chimp out at this scene. Like, there is no in-story reason justifiable, and I'm not saying I need everything explained, but there is no in-story reason for
Mhm.
them all to be able to get out of their caskets. These are, I mean, David Bowie was so feeble
Mhm.
that he had to be placed in and could do nothing.
How did they get out of nailed coffins that have been wrapped in canvas?
Mm, yeah. It doesn't hold up. She is also presumably having quite a lot of strength. We see her demonstrate that she can lift an adult man up. We even see her just like punch through the head of one quite
Mhm.
easily. A great effect shot, but it also makes you wonder. I mean, if she wanted to, she could fight all of them very easily. It's
Yeah,
you
it's
get an earthquake to symbolize something is changing, but it is quite the cheat. Oh, here's a suggestion. Would you prefer the Shaw Brothers hopping con? I love those. Are those
God.
the guys that you slap the scroll on their head to put them back to sleep? Because they were fun. Sorry, Murgoot. I saw that reference and I got some old
I
memories.
don't blame you. The Shaw Brothers are classic.
Yeah. There is no justification. We get an earthquake to symbolize something has changed, but it is entirely unjustified. And you, as you kind of went over when we first started, we just can't make sense of it.
Yeah, it's such a radical shift. I mean, she's supposed to be eternal life and eternal youth personified, and yet she's easily killed. It's what is going on? And then I read the notes. It was for a sequel. Oh, okay. It's studios meddling yet again, which is just.
There's no justification for it, or for why Susan Sarandon is now up and running. Ah,
I have John
oh,
Graham. I haven't read the original novel since the mid '80s. I used to own it. I don't have it anymore. I haven't read it in, God, 40 years, 35, 40 years. So,
never mind. Look it up and see if it has a better ending. Hopefully, hopefully something that sticks true. Basically, what we're being given with this wonderful dramatic lighting from behind our, I suppose, mummies really, is incredibly stylish. It's a great chance for Dick Smith to pay off. It is a big, powerful visual finale. It just doesn't make sense. And it's a sour note, something that's really going for an unearned bit of a power hit for the audience that just, yeah. I'm fine with it if you justify it, you know? Alas, a sad end. There was also a question raised way earlier. Was it by Leslie Russell? I can't remember. Someone asked how David Bowie hadn't ever gone into the attic. Yes, it was. Leslie Russell asked. John had never got into the attic before and saw the coffins. He never knew. You have to wonder. You have to wonder. In all that time, he never went up there and found out. I don't know. You do start to wonder with these questions. And, well, that is us at the end of the movie. Fairly efficient. Is it TCG dragging us down? Is he the guy who keeps making us go over? Terrible stuff.
Okay. I may as well give my thoughts. Stylishly done, wonderfully photographed. Tony Scott's jumpy edits I can deal with because they actually made sense in this one. You could piece it together fairly easily. Love the color palette of blues and greens and whites and reds. All covered with shadow. Gotta love that. David Bowie is always interesting in the movies he's in, even if the movies are crap. The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Mixed views on Nicholas Roeg in the stream tonight. What can I say? I saw praise in the chat and hate from a co-host.
But up until the end, it was doing very well, and then the ending was just like, huh? Okay, that no.
Going for the big payoff.
It's because of its faults, I have to mark it down. I am saying it is worth at least one watch. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 burgers, some ketchup, lots of pickles, and one big what the fuck ending.
Yes. Fair play. And while everyone else gets their scores rolling in, don't forget, give us a pickle rating as well if you can, folks. Got a respectable 8 from John. Daughters of Darkness was a 10. God, I don't know that one. I don't know.
Neither do I.
All right. So, like lesbian vampire lovers of lust from Dr. Terrible's House of Horrible. We'll have to review that at one point. Right. As for myself, this was an extremely pleasant surprise, an extremely mature movie. Far less big on the erotic than I expected, and in a really surprising way with this great melancholic undercurrent and quite a, to an extent, conservative reading to it, sort of anti-hedonism reading. I liked that. I liked that very much. The music is an absolute high point, from Bela Lugosi's Dead at the start, giving you this this is the aesthetic you get at the start of the film. Like, we are all lured in by this peak 80s, and then we end up very rapidly, at something far more slow, far more considered and classical. The music reflects that. Great use of classical music in this. And classical music being quite a good metaphor here, because in a way they are replaying the same pieces over and over and over again. It's the same music. She keeps doing it over and over. David Bowie was just holding the cello for a few hundred years. or whatever he was using. She'll swap him out for someone else, but the music is the same. Great metaphor, right, guys? You love to see it. Visually, I would say it's the best for Tony Scott. He hasn't gone full frenetic. He's not done that sort of burnt out stuff that he did with, what was it, Man on Fire? I enjoyed that movie, but God, it's a headache to watch. And solid performances around. My only thing is I really didn't find, if we were meant to enjoy and believe in the sort of lesbian romance, it was not there for me in the way that I think it was intended to be. But otherwise, strong. It would be getting a strong 10 from me, because there's good thematics in there, but there's a sort of weak side angle with Susan Sarandon. I cared nothing about any of her lab colleagues. Wasn't interested in seeing it. It didn't give me a reason to care. So it wasn't as fully rounded, as balanced as I would hope it would be. And then we come to the ending, which was a visually strong ending, but ultimately a bit of a story fumble. So I'm torn on it. I like my grand hit it out the park ending, but it's got to make sense. Chat is turning against it a bit. It was going to be a strong 10 for me. I've got to bring it down to a 9. It's a 9. That might be slightly generous, but strong cinematography and music. It's just a little bit imbalanced, but there's so much good stuff in there. So for that reason, it's a 9 out of 10, but low on pickles. Pickles early on, first few bites, you're getting pickles. After that, they're almost totally gone. Very weak on pickles for me. So there we go. Someone's going to stumble into the scoring and be like, what the hell? Why is it out of 12? Anyway. Scores have come in. I don't know if I got this one up. J Panks are going for 8 pickles. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, more coming in. Oh gosh. J Panks, if you're still around, I'll also mention, because you asked, I have not seen Last Voyage of the Demeter, but I want to, because I think André Vidal did a really good job on the Autopsy of Jane Doe. I hated Troll Hunter, but I loved the Autopsy of Jane Doe, so I really did want to see Last Voyage of the Demeter. So I'll update when I have. Right, I think we've got another 8. So we're spread here. We have got a low from the NRAB. You didn't go for it. Yeah, editing, I can understand why that would turn people off. But with quite a broad range. This is going to be a divisive film. That's absolutely fair. I hope you enjoyed the discussion on it. I think could have done with a bit more depth as well. There was a way to plumb that, I think, but it's subtle enough that we can do our own exploration. So with that said, folks, that is our discussion of The Hunger. A cautious recommendation from Murgoot, a fairly strong recommendation from me. Yes, needed more Bowie, absolutely. I mean, look, I thought it was going to be a Bowie love triangle. That's really what I thought it was going to be. I was surprised. What can I say? So you've heard our thoughts and scores. Strong recommendation from me. But we are going out next week on our is this going to be the last in the horror and the erotic arc, or is it going to suddenly lengthen due to the excitement of the chat and extend into another week? Who can say? But certainly next week, you have not yet escaped horror and the erotic. I'm afraid we're back at least one more time, but you'll love it. You come back begging for more. We're covering The Devil's Advocate. In 1997, I believe, 1997, Keanu, Al Pacino, The Devil's Advocate, some other very unfortunate casting.
Lovely horror comedy with lots of scenery chewing from Al Pacino.
It's an absolute hoot. Yes, brilliant stuff. So next week, The Devil's Advocate. Wes is going to be back. It'll be a fun one. Patrick Batman, yes, please do post the shorts in the comments. That will be much appreciated. But yeah, get your watch of The Devil's Advocate. It's great fun from Taylor Hackford, a guy who can do subtle and chose not to. Yeah, we'll have a blast with that one, and then see what we're doing beyond that, because we're already extending into December. We're breaking the rules. It's all coming apart. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. I'll reiterate, it's probably about lunchtime for everyone who is celebrating. I'm gonna have to play that clip, aren't I? I'll get that in the start. Woo-wee. All right. So for those of you celebrating Thanksgiving, I bet you've got some prep to do. I hope you have a fantastic time with friends and family tonight. If you've got another time, enjoy it then. But for everyone, I hope you got a lovely Friday ahead of you and a great weekend after that. And I will thank chat. You've been funny. You've been generous. Murgoot, star as always.
Thank you very much. And this one's been fun, even if I didn't rate it that highly. Well, yeah.
It's all right. We love a mix on here. We love a divisive one. Except for that time there was a huge chimping out over Demon Seed. But we will not. Ooh, awkward stream. Anyway, thanks very much, guys. I will leave you with that. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.
Hashtag Shell Gang.
Wait. I'm putting that up. Thank you, Patrick Batman. Good night.